So I'm on my way for the bus, for the hike. Got a real map with me because I'm not sure if there'll be internet on the top of the mountain. I guess it will be interesting. Let's see what happens.
Hello. So this summer was relatively calm, without many adventures. However, since I was heading to Krakow, Poland, I took the opportunity to revisit the Polish Tatras. The last time I explored these mountains was around 3-4 years ago, and actually I've been looking for an excuse to return ever since. The Tatras are a stunning mountain range which divide the borders between Poland and Slovakia. I really enjoyed my last trip here, so naturally I was thrilled to be back.
So walking going to the center of Zakopane now, what I noticed as I was coming here is how populated it is. Like a lot of people. If you just open Google Maps, it can say like the population is around 20,000, but definitely not less than 50,000, I think, right now in the city.
So I arrived in Zakopane, which will be the base for my hike, sometime in the afternoon. I was actually too tired and jaded to start hiking that day, so I decided to chill and explore the city, as well as the nearby peak of Gubalowka, I hope I said that correctly, which is more of a touristy place than a real hike.
I would say one of the big differences this time is that last time when I was here, in my 3 days here, I could barely hear any Arabic, probably. Almost none, probably none actually. This time, every few tens of meters, I hear someone speak Arabic. Much more Arabs this time, but in general, many tourists. Very hard to say from where. I guess mostly Polish, but from other European countries as well. Another thing is, for a town that looks so small on the map, it's actually pretty huge. Like you can, just in the center, it might take you, I would say, an hour and a half if you want to do a full round of the city. Yeah, it can take an hour and a half. It's definitely not small. There are a lot of wide spaces and a lot of commercial stuff going on in the city itself.
So heading towards Gubalowka, I opted for the cable car this time, since I already hiked it on my previous visit. After getting the tickets, we began our ascent. Upon reaching the top, you'll discover that it's mostly a touristic area, with shops and kiosks selling stuff. Definitely even more crowded than the last time I was here. However, the view of adjacent Tatras is what makes getting here worthwhile. So after a while I decided to head down, but instead of taking the cable car, I decided to do it on foot, as the best views of Tatras can be seen from the slopes.
So if you're taking a cable car up the mountain, you will notice something midway, is that there are people on places like this sitting outside and enjoying the view. Surely if you're taking the cable cart up, you can just tell the guy to stop and for you to go outside. However, what you can do is instead of using the cable cart to go down again, you can go down again on foot. This will give you an opportunity to see those amazing views, basically not in a rush, and basically to soak them in a better manner. Definitely better than taking the cable cart down.
Oh, and one more thing about Zakopane. Zakopane probably has one of the most crowded Lidl shops I've ever seen.
So I'm on my way for the bus, for the hike. Got a real map with me because I'm not sure if there'll be internet on the top of the mountain. I guess it will be interesting. Let's see what happens.
So the next day, the real hike began. I woke up at 5 a.m. and head to the bus station, which took me to the base of the mountain, and from there I took a cable cart up to Kasprowy, which is a central peak in the Tatras. So the last time I was here, I hiked from the base up to Kasprowy, which is a central peak in the Tatras. That journey took me around 4 hours to ascend and another 3 hours to descend. So I decided to start from Kasprowy and make it all the way to another peak called Swinica. I hope I said that correctly. I arrived at Kasprowy at around 7 a.m. and let's just say it wasn't what I had expected. The weather was cold, windy, and there was a thick fog. After waiting for a bit, I decided to press on, hoping the weather would clear up in the coming hours.
So as I was expecting, it was good thing I got a winter coat with me. Now I'm going to a peak called Swinica. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It should take me around 3 hours to get there. Hopefully it won't be more than that because I still have to get back. So we shall see.
Luckily, 30 minutes into the hike, the weather indeed started to get better.
So I think I'm halfway through it. Two good news: it's finally sunny and less windy. I really hope it continues like that. So I'm expecting some amazing views from the top. Let's see how it goes.
The first part of the trail is a mix of gradual inclines and declines. The trail itself serves almost as a natural border between Poland and Slovakia, with the valley on the right being the Slovakian side and the valley on the left being the Polish side. Around halfway through, the terrain starts to become progressively steeper and rockier. But with the challenge, the views also become more breathtaking. After around 2 hours, I reached the final stretch, which proved to be the most challenging part. Here, it's more about climbing up the mountain rather than simply hiking. A word of caution, good hiking shoes and head protection are highly recommended. If you're wondering about my head protection, well, I didn't realize it was a must, or highly recommended at least. By the time I figured it out, it was kinda late to turn back.
Well, asked some people around who told me this is the last part. God, I hope that's true, because I'm really tired at this point, and those rocks are getting steeper, more steeper and steeper, yeah.
After another hour or so of struggling to reach the top, I finally made it to the Swinica Peak. Any doubts that I had during the final push, wondering if it was even worth it, were completely erased. The view was absolutely breathtaking, even beyond what I could have imagined. I reached the peak at around 11:30 a.m. and after spending around 30 minutes taking the scenery in, I began my descent downward towards Zakopane. So I reached Kasprowy again at around 2 p.m. Taking the cable car down without enjoying the views just didn't make sense, especially that I still had a good chunk of a day to go. That's why I decided to hike all the way back down to the city. In comparison to the climb, the descent from Kasprowy is literally a walk in the park, albeit a long one. Along the way you'll encounter different lakes, landscapes, which are truly beautiful, especially in summer. The entire descent takes around 2 to 3 hours, offering a more relaxed pace to enjoy the scenery.
So day 2 just started. I'm not sure if I'll just make it to Morskoje Oko and then do a small hike somewhere nearby, or if I'll make it to the 5 lakes or some other place. I guess it depends how much time I will have left. My feet hurt. My feet still hurt from day 1, and yeah, we shall see. Obviously, in comparison to day 1, as you can see, the path is mostly flat, so I think 8 kilometers should be absolutely no problem. But we shall see.
On the final day, I didn't have a concrete plan. I knew I wanted to explore another part of Tatras, somewhere near Morskoje Oko. If you're not familiar with Morskoje Oko, it is one of the most popular tourist attractions in Tatras. Visitors flock to this beautiful lake in order to take pictures and basically leave. I visited actually during my last trip, and while it is stunning, I was in the mood for something different this time. While browsing Google Maps and reading about hiking trails, I came across a side tour from Morskoje Oko that leads to the 5 Polish Pond Valley. I'm not even going to pronounce it in Polish actually. The initial path is pretty straightforward, the same 8 kilometers as the route to Morskoje Oko. However, about 4 kilometers in, after crossing a certain point and a bridge, there is a side path that veers off. I wasn't entirely sure if that was the trail that would take me to the 5 Polish Pond Valley, but I decided to go up anyway. About 15 minutes later, I realized that I was on the right track. Compared to the previous day hike, this path was much more manageable and enjoyable. The landscape, the views, and the fact that there were far fewer people than the Morskoje Oko trail really made it worth it.
So the good thing is so far the trail isn't that bad. It's actually pretty straightforward with some inclines that don't last beyond like 200-300 meters. Overall not hard and definitely not as crowded as the Morskoje Oko pathway.
After around 2 hours of hiking, you will reach a valley where the trail becomes progressively ascending upward. Following this trail, around 40 to 50 minutes, you will finally reach a plateau, a stunning 5 Polish Pond Valley.
Place actually pretty nice is that you have several lakes near each other and the terrain is pretty flat, so once you climb up the mountain or the main hill before, things should be smooth from here. So this was the first lake. I'm not gonna butcher its name. Then there will be a second lake I think nearby, and basically it's like a valley of lakes. Not very windy, not very hot, just perfect.
Honestly, from this point, you can climb to several other peaks, including a peak called Grzyżny, which in my opinion offers the best views in Tatras. However, that wasn't my plan for this trip, so I decided to end my adventures at the 5 Polish Pond.